Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. Success, true success, it doesn't show up with a red carpet and a marching band. It comes dressed in sweat. It knocks when you're tired, and it only answers to those who never stop knocking. Now there's a young man, maybe you've heard of him, goes by the name of MrBeast, real name Jimmy Donaldson. But let me tell you that young man didn't wait for a title. He built one, brick by brick. Video by video, dollar by dollar. Let me tell you something about greatness, real greatness. It doesn't come from luck. It doesn't come from charm. It comes from discipline and obsession. MrBeast, Jimmy Donaldson, he didn't just like making videos. He became obsessed with understanding them. And not in a surface-level, half-hearted kind of way. I'm talking about hours upon hours, studying thumbnails, titles, pacing, like a scientist in a lab. He'd watch the same video 100 times just to learn why people clicked, why they stayed, and why they left. Now, most folks, they try once, maybe twice, and when the world doesn't clap, they quit. Not Jimmy. He lived in the grind, he welcomed the silence, and see, there's something deeply psychological about that. When a person can delay gratification, when they can show up day after day with no external reward, that's not just hustle, that's mastery of the self. That's a mind trained to work in the dark while others wait for the light. We live in a world obsessed with fast results, overnight fame, viral hits, but Jimmy took the long road, the uncomfortable road, the road where you fail and you tweak and you try again. That takes more than effort. That takes belief, not in the outcome, but in the process. In philosophy, they call it eudaimonia, the pursuit of excellence, not pleasure. That's what drove him, and here's what you need to understand. Talent will introduce you, but obsession will keep you in the room. If you want to be unforgettable, if you want to be undeniable, you have to stop flirting with your craft and marry it. So ask yourself this: are you interested in your dream, or are you committed to it? Because the difference is everything. You see, everyone wants to shine in the light, but very few are willing to grow in the dark. Before MrBeast was a global name, before the headlines, the sponsorships, the private islands, and record-breaking numbers, he was just a teenager sitting in a small room, uploading videos to an audience of nobody. No fans, no money, just silence. And what he did during that silence, that's what made him who he is. Because there's a psychological truth we often forget. Most people need external validation to stay motivated. We're wired to seek feedback, applause, results. But the real ones, the builders, the doers, the ones who make a dent in this world, they operate from something deeper. They have a why that isn't rented from the outside. It's rooted within. Jimmy kept showing up, not because someone told him he was great, but because he believed he could become great. That's what separates the amateurs from the masters. One chases attention, the other chases growth. And that kind of discipline, that internal fire, it's spiritual, it's philosophical. It's a man choosing to plant seeds even when there's no rain in sight. Most people quit when no one's watching. But Jimmy trained himself to build when it was quiet. So when the noise finally came, he was already ready. There's a lesson there. Don't let the silence fool you. Silence is where you sharpen the blade. Silence is where you learn to listen to yourself, to dig deeper, to find out what you're really made of. So the next time you find yourself in the dark, good, stay there, work there, because if you can learn to move with no applause, you'll be ready when the world finally decides to clap. And trust me, if you keep going, they will. Most people chase numbers, views, likes, followers. They create for the algorithm, not the audience. They try to go viral without ever asking why they deserve to be. But MrBeast, he understood something deeper, something most creators never figure out. He realized that attention is rented, but value is owned. Every video he made was crafted to give something, not just money, meaning. Entertainment, yes, but also curiosity, wonder, generosity, surprise. He didn't just want to catch your eye. He wanted to leave something with you, and that's a whole different level of thinking. That's not just content. That's service. There's a principle in psychology called reciprocal altruism. People are more likely to give when they feel someone's already given to them. Jimmy gave so much time, energy, outrageous acts of generosity, that people wanted to stay. Not because of the spectacle, but because they trusted him. He wasn't exploiting the platform, he was elevating it, turning it into a tool for empathy, joy, and connection. See, when you lead with value, you don't have to beg for attention. You earn it, and here's the philosophical part. When you stop asking, what can I get? And start asking, what can I give? You shift your purpose. You align your work with something larger than ego. And in that alignment, you become magnetic. MrBeast made people feel something. He gave more than he took. And in doing so, he built a foundation that algorithms can't shake. So ask yourself, in whatever you're building, are you chasing attention, or are you creating value? Because one fades and the other lasts, there's a misconception we've built in this world, that money defines success, that if you stack enough of it, people will respect you, but money by itself, that's just a number. What you do with it, that's where the meaning lies, and MrBeast, he flipped the script. He didn't just use money to flex. He used it to free people, to change their lives, to lift them up, and that's powerful. Because generosity, when it's strategic and sincere, becomes more than a gift, it becomes a statement, a philosophy. Jimmy didn't give just for the camera. He gave to remind people of what's possible when success is rooted in service, not self-indulgence. There's something deeply human, deeply spiritual, about giving without asking for anything in return. But Jimmy went a step further. He turned giving into an engine, a way to inspire, to educate, to make kindness contagious. That's not just content, that's leadership. Now think about that. Most people use wealth to build walls. He used it to open doors. While others were focused on accumulation, he focused on impact. And in doing so, he reminded all of us that the real power of success isn't in what you keep, it's in what you share. This isn't just about generosity, it's about redefinition, redefining what influence looks like, what leadership feels like, what legacy means, because at the end of the day, people won't remember how much you had. They'll remember how much you gave. So if you're blessed with something, money, time, skill, don't hoard it. Multiply it. Let your success be someone else's breakthrough, because the highest purpose of having is giving. Let me tell you, nobody does anything great alone. That's a myth we like to tell in movies. One man, one mission beats the odds, but in real life, greatness is built on teams, on trust, on alignment, and MrBeast understood that from the beginning. He didn't just surround himself with people, he built with people. People who believed in the mission, people who stayed up late editing, planning, tweaking every second of every frame, not for the fame, but for the vision. Because when you build something bigger than yourself, people don't just follow, they join. There's a principle in philosophy that says, a rising tide lifts all boats. Jimmy didn't try to be the only boat. He brought others with him. He gave his team real responsibility, real credit, real space to grow. And in return, they gave him loyalty, creativity, and excellence. That kind of synergy doesn't happen by accident. It happens when ego takes a back seat to purpose. And that's something we all need to hear. Because if your dream is only big enough for you, it's not big enough. If your vision doesn't make room for others to rise with you, then it's just ambition in disguise. MrBeast showed that true leadership isn't about control. It's about trust. It's about building a circle, not a ladder. So whatever you're building, whether it's a business, a brand, or a dream, don't just ask, how far can I go? Ask, how far can we go together? Because the strongest empires are built in collaboration, and if you want to go far, you better learn to walk with others. Now let's be honest, this world moves fast. Trends rise and fall in a matter of hours. Yesterday's success becomes today's forgotten post. But MrBeast didn't just play the game. He studied it, broke it down, and rebuilt it in his own image. He wasn't guessing, he was learning, every single day, and that's what separates temporary noise from lasting impact. Session with improvement. Not just working hard, but working smart. MrBeast treated YouTube like a science. He tested thumbnails, studied watch time, analyzed retention. He didn't just make videos, he reverse-engineered attention. Because in his world, failure wasn't the end. It was feedback. That's a mindset we all need to carry. The humility to know we don't know everything, and the hunger to keep learning anyway. Most people stop growing when they start succeeding. They think they've arrived, but Jimmy kept asking the hard questions. How do I do this better, faster, more meaningfully? And that's the key, not just growth, but evolution. There's a principle in psychology called deliberate practice. It's not repetition. It's strategic repetition. It's failing forward with focus. That's what MrBeast did. He turned mistakes into data, data into strategy, strategy into legacy. And that's your challenge too. Don't chase perfection. Chase progress. Stay curious. Stay coachable. Keep your pride out of the way of your potential. Because the ones who last, the ones who lead, the ones who leave a mark, they never stop learning. They never stop becoming. So ask yourself tonight, are you growing or just going through the motions? Because the moment you stop learning is the moment you stop leading.